kind of looking at the news again last week of the headlines, the Fed came out and there's more statements came out of their last meeting. They're making it clear the job's not done and that, a rate pause is off the table. So, we do have some more months ahead with these rate increases, which obviously makes the pricing of deals and both bridge and DSCR and multifamily pretty dynamic, probably as dynamic as we'll see in our lifetimes, probably, hopefully. And so the consensus is that, based on these comments and that there's a 50 basis point increase coming on December 14th meeting, and then another 25 basis point increase coming in February 23, and then, subsequently in the March 23 meeting, which would put the Fed funds rate at 4 3/4. And so I guess the markets are kind of all pricing in that by March Madness of 2023, we could be at a Fed funds rate of 4 3/4 to 5 1/4. So, the other thought there is that once we kind of hit that milestone, they're going to hold for a while and then see what kind of the effects of the next 3 or 4 months of rate increases are going to do on the economy and inflation and everything else. So, kind of looking ahead, just kind of doing a survey. Does anybody know what today's prime rate is? John, I know you're laughing.
I don't. That's why I was like, wow, good question.
Good question.
I'm
gonna ask John to Google it right now.
It's a touchdown. It's 7%. So I happened to look for fun at the GS Partners email from a year ago to today to kind of just do a year over year heading into Thanksgiving week synopsis. So, basically, you hear a lot of people talk about SOFR, just so kind of a survey of rates, prime rate to 7, 1 month LIBOR is 3.91, 1 month SOFR is 3.84, 5-year SOFR swaps are 3.68. The 10-year Treasury is actually now back down, almost 3 3/4. It's been going back and forth from 3.5 to 4.5, but the 10-year Treasury is a big barometer. So it's kind of where we are. I bring
Mark,
that.
Did you say what prime rate was a year ago?
I think it was like 2%. Yeah.
So it's 2 and now it's 7. So 500 basis point increase.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just, I was thinking back last year of like, the pricing on the deals and everything else. And it's like, year over year, it's a big difference. And so the reason why I bring that up is just I've heard on a bunch of calls and I've talked to people in the industry and, we are experiencing rate increases ourselves. It is shock value where I remember, starting the year and saying, oh my gosh, like we have a rate in the low 6s, and then it's like a rate in the high 6s. And so everybody's dealing with that. Other core vests, everybody, just they're all dealing with rate increases. A clearing rate at a couple of these firms now on the bridge product for their tier 1 borrowers is 10 3/4. I think the civics of the world, their allocation for their 30-year money is coming to an end. And so it's all resetting. But I say that just because when you're dealing with your clients, you can point to these stats and saying, well, I'm getting I should get an 8% rate. It's like, well, prime rate, which is, basically, the keystone rate and all this is at 7 now. So it's just good kind of rebuttal and commentary of where we are, fortunately or unfortunately, as an economy and what we're doing with our lending. Kind of moving along there. It would be wise to expect we get another probably push to a new sizer, both on the bridge and the 30-year. So, when you're having your deals ready, with Dana, you're going to be looking at them and obviously pricing to sustain some movement in rates. Stepping back, CoreLogic report released a report, annual single-family rental growth decelerates for the 5th consecutive month. And so I think, there's a couple of ways to look at this. One, you have like this kind of doom and gloom, clickbait headline. 2, rent growth is normalizing back to like what is a common assumption of 2 to 3%, as opposed to 10% plus double-digit growth as a result of COVID. So single-family rents increased 10.2% year over year in September, but is down from 13.9% April 2022. So that's deceleration, but that's super strong still. And lower price rent growth continued to record double-digit annual gains, up 12.1%. So that makes sense where higher interest rates probably knocked out first-time home buyers. It's pushing rents up and for the probably the bracket of $100,000 to $200,000 homes, which is where we see most of our rentals. Interestingly, Florida metros, or not interesting, saw the highest single-family rent growth. Miami posting the highest year-over-year increase of 20%. So, it's just keep in mind those things are there. If you see Miami rental deals, that's just a good check. Orlando was second, Boston was third, and then St. Louis, unfortunately, is last. Rent growth in many fast-growing metros decelerated compared to last September. Return to offices, colleges, and cities is driving rent growth higher in other metros where rent growth was lagging, such as Boston, New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia. So things are kind of flip-flopping, which is good in one way. But, again, it's just a good way to kind of know that even though rates are going up in our rental product, rents are going up too. So that's the pro of inflation, is that your top line revenue is still growing. And it makes sense for people who are looking at kind of sizing up their deals to, do a 5-1 or 7-1 arm, most likely to fix in a rate, ride that rent growth wave, and then refi when the time comes and kind of the economy sort of sustains itself.